Hi guys.
Hi everyone, it is us, the gamers that are epic.
Yeah, the egg taggers. So
We are such taggers.
we're gonna egg your tag coming to a town near you, something like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
we are Arakulele, which is a coder, so he knows about the games.
yeah. There's also
And
Sami,
I
and
am
Sami's the
Sami.
writer. He knows about writing, I think. Uh,
I also do art. I
yeah.
like art,
You're an art
so I know
guy.
about that. Yeah, I'm
I'm also the
technically
relatable one, so you should relate to me and not to Sami. That's not
I
allowed.
am the intelligent one, so I'm like better than all of you.
Yeah, his brain is so big you wouldn't even get it. Speaking of, we tried to record like a second ago. We had to stop because of audio levels, but we were like, we don't really have a good greeting, so I guess Sammy came up with
Yeah.
this one on the fly for this podcast. Maybe we can
Yeah.
keep
You
doing
know,
this one.
I think it's good. I think it's good to like present ourselves. I present you, you present me, and
Yeah,
we say and we basically tell people why they should listen to us.
yeah,
Because if you're a coder and I am an artist, then we're not just random people anymore. We are suddenly qualified
we're
to
the
talk
best.
shit about games.
Yeah. We're famous now, by the way. Our last YouTube shorts, I made some YouTube shorts about the last few episodes, for fun to see how many views it get, and they have like so many views. We're gonna be in the YouTube Hall of Fame soon. What do you think about that?
Yeah, like our 500 views on the last short is, I think we're better than PewDiePie at this point.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
not even on our level at all
no, no. We're like
anymore.
so big. We're so amazing.
People like Hollow Knight apparently. It seems like.
But yeah, surprisingly, people like Hollow
Yeah.
Knight.
We'll see if it translates over for this episode, but maybe people just really hate speedrunners, so maybe we should make that like a reoccurring bit. That I
Yeah,
hate
yeah.
speedrunners.
And it was a very good short because people hate speedruns and people are scared of death.
Yeah,
So those are two very relatable talk points.
I agree. Unlike the one before, which was politics, which people hate famously.
Yeah. I think that we should probably start a side hustle, of the EGTAEG,
Yeah.
and where we just make long videos, video essays about speed running and the hatred and sadness of death,
Yeah.
and makes the talk points about that, and an entire season of just that.
And we're gonna talk at Epic Gamers talk about death.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
no,
we have
I
to have
think
like a
that's great.
10-second silence after we say the title.
One of us died.
One of us dies. Actually, we have to wait until one of us dies, right? So we can do it.
Yeah, yeah. One day, whenever one of us dies, the remaining epic gamer is gonna be like, guys, my other host died of cancer, and it was very sad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna milk his death now for this day every single year.
Wow. That'd be fucked up, but that
Yeah,
is also something that I would
that
do.
would be very fucked up.
Very in character, I would say, at least.
Hey, money talks, money talks.
Money does talk.
If
We still
if,
need to bring
if
up
I
MatPat.
die and you milk my death, you are allowed. You can do it.
Yeah, we still have to bring up MatPat Sammy. We did it in the first two episodes. What do we say about MatPat this time?
Ness sounds the same.
Same guy. Okay, that's all we need
Same
to say about
guy.
MatPat. We're like going through the motions right now of the podcast. This is like
Brilliant.
the most important bits.
Yeah.
We tried some new things last
Every
time.
every day we have to talk about math.
Yeah, we saw the engagement went up a lot when we were talking about MatPat. Because people are like, their
Yeah.
neurons are like firing. Wow, MatPat, I know about that guy. And then
That
they
guy, I know
and then
him.
they like look at the camera. And then we do like a fist bump.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how that
Maybe
goes,
maybe
usually.
we should call this part of the video the witty banter. That way people are like, oh, witty banter. I don't know what that means, but I got that from Mata.
Dilapidated,
Um,
dilapidated. That's my smart word of the podcast. Uh, no longer ostensibly, I found a new one. Any suggestions,
that
by the way? I'm gonna run out at some point. Out of like smart
that's
words
such a
to say.
dilapidated word, Ara.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Sammy, you're quite the dilapidated man, I would say.
That is very true. I'm very dilapidated.
Yeah. Find kind of frail and brittle. Uh,
Yeah,
how did
I'm constantly in pain. Please help me.
Sammy, are your hands still shaking from the LSD you took before the podcast?
Yes, I saw a unicorn, and that scared me a lot.
Oh, okay. I
I
don't
am
think those are
deathly
real.
afraid of beautiful things.
Yeah, somehow I don't think they're real. I don't know
Well,
about that one.
that's imagine like seeing something that for your entire life you thought it was fake. Like
Yeah.
just a troll or a unicorn. Like, what would be your reaction?
I'd be like, that's fake, and then I'd wake up. Probably.
Like, imagine going to a zoo and then like just, oh yeah, and this is our new creature, and it's just like a fucking troll.
Yeah.
You know, with perfect human speech. He's just like he's just terrified because he's like trapped in here. No one is letting him out.
I feel like this is like a nightmarish scenario you've concocted, Sammy. I have to
Yeah,
admit. I don't know what
maybe I
happens
should
in your
write a
brain.
novel about that. I should write a novel about the life troll that was, like treated as an animal by the rest of society.
Tell your therapist or something, but
Yeah, I could also just tell about it to my therapist.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, on the note of oiks and fantastical creatures, I know this is a great transition, you can thank me later. Today we're going to be talking about Zelda. Topic that no one's ever talked about, very original here. I know, but we're going to be talking about...
I don't know what a Zelda is.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that later. But we're talking about the newest Zelda games. Okay, actually, we're not talking about the newest Zelda games because there's been Echoes of Wisdom now, which I have not played yet. But yeah, we're talking about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which is two games that have been talked about to death by a lot of people. So we're gonna do both of them in one podcast to get it done with. What do you think of that?
I think that it shows how much love we show to this community, that we are willing to spend so much time talking about two games instead of making two different episodes. So
Yeah.
we can give our audience the entire picture of our opinion. This is quality content.
I do agree. I do have to agree with that sentiment. But yeah, I'm gonna have to do the thing that I do in the other episodes where we're gonna spoil the games. We're probably gonna talk about the final bosses.
Yes.
Background footage. There's background footage probably. It's gonna cut in like right now or something. I'm gonna decide to do that in the edit. It's gonna be of random points in the game. There's no spoiler warning.
If you haven't played Breath of the Wild, go do it.
Yeah.
If you haven't played Tears of the Kingdom, go do it. If you don't have money, well, sucks to be you. Anyway,
wink, wink,
you should
wink,
probably,
nudge, nudge.
you should you should probably play the games before watching this podcast.
Yeah, give Nintendo 120 euros or dollars right now.
Yeah. I mean, the experience of these games is not really a story-heavy one. The story of the games definitely does give them like a special charm.
Yeah.
Like especially good when you haven't seen anything about them beforehand. But you don't really. It's not like spoilers are gonna completely ruin your experience.
Yeah, I do.
You don't do it.
It's mostly a gameplay-focused experience.
Yeah.
Where do we start talking about? Like, what do we start talking about with Breath of the Wild? I think it's that one trailer which is like the first scene in the game where you wake up as Link and you go outside and you see the whole wide world of Hyrule. Because that's like the moment of Breath of the Wild, right? You would agree?
I would agree. Yeah. I mean, Breath of the Wild is that's literally what appears in the trailers. That's literally what appears in like the art of the portrait of the game.
I mean, what
like,
do people
game.
think of when they think of Breath of the Wild? They think of this. They think of the sprawling world. They think of the Breath of the Wild almost like started the explosion of the world, like open world genre today. It's kind of insane how much impact that game had on the gaming industry. Which is something.
Well, I also think about the horrible side missions that require you to take like one torch from one place to another while the land is constantly raining, and you have to do this to continue the story, which is absolutely stupid. But
that's not even a side mission as well. That's in the fucking main game. You have to do that to progress.
Main mission.
Why did they do that?
Yeah, you have to like. I don't know, man. Why didn't they give me an umbrella or something?
Why didn't Link just craft an umbrella? Is he stupid? I think so. Well, I mean, in the long and old world of Breath of the Wild, Link had not figured out how to glue two objects together yet, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Glue, not a thing.
And yet, in Tears of the Kingdom, he still doesn't know how to make an umbrella. He can make a fucking car, but an umbrella is too much.
Yeah, that's going too far, I would say. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what's Breath of the Wild really known for? It's the fucking open world. Like talking about anything else in Breath of the Wild is nice. The story's good. The mechanics are interesting. But what is Breath of the Wild about? It's about exploring a big open world of
Yeah.
Hyrule that's never been seen like
Mm-hmm.
that ever.
It,
Uh,
it's just Red Dead Redemption, a game which I haven't played. But there's a lot of really funny looking enemies with really big ears and noses that want to kill you, which is very fun.
yeah. Yeah, Bokoblins, first enemy you fight. Mechanical
Yeah.
standpoint, the enemies in Breath of the Wild are deceptively simple. I would say in the world,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
basically only see them doing one move, which is punch you or hit
Mhm.
you with a sword.
Yeah. Like
But
they have technically different moves because they have different animations with it, but they basically do the same.
yeah, but I say deceptively simple because there is actually a lot of things that happen with them. They have like horde
Mhm.
behavior, they think with each other, they circle you, stuff like
Yeah.
that, which makes them seem very alive, even though they are in reality like simple freaking punching enemies.
Yeah. Like, I
um,
mean, if one of them sees you, they will tell their other friends about it, and they will go after you. If one of them in the tower sees you, they will alert everyone with a honking noise.
yeah,
They have arrows. They have different types of weapons. And depending of the enemies that you find, moblins, bokoblins, lizalfos, they all have their own specific ways of acting. I think that one of my favorite things about bokoblins is how if you just like stay hidden away, you see how they're just living their life.
yeah, they're doing a
They
bunch
have
of
their own
idle
cycle of
animations.
sleeping. Yeah, they can sleep, they can wake up, they can eat food. They are always like preparing food in their campfire, never ending fire.
They really munch on those
But
apples, if you've seen it. They
yeah,
really enjoy them,
yeah, that is true.
apparently.
Yeah, no, they love it.
They actually heals them as
And
well, which is
yeah,
interesting.
to be honest, Nintendo didn't really need to lay on any of that.
Yeah.
Nintendo didn't need to make animal like creatures that felt real when basically the only point of them is for you to just kill them. But they
I
did
mean,
it for some reason.
I mean, no one really
They have
cares
their
about
own cycle.
bokoblins, you know.
Yeah.
I think it kind of shows though how willing they were to make the world feel real and almost like it's like in the whole ecosystem of things that go on. It's not just like
Yeah.
you, the player. It makes you feel a little bit like there's something outside of your field of view. The characters don't disappear, even though obviously they do.
Hmm.
It's a video game. After you leave,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of I feel like the reason that they did that.
Yeah.
Um,
Every character that you find, you can talk to, and they can tell you about simple little stories. Just normal NPCs can tell you about the story of the city and the story of their lives, and it almost feels like an RPG sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. There's like a lot of side quests as well. I mean, you've seen like the questing menu in Breath of the Wild. There's always like
Yeah.
tons of quests that you can do.
Yeah. And I hear that the Japanese version of the game was way better on that because instead of a no a random narrator telling you what the question was about, in the Japanese version it was Link's actual thoughts about the quest.
Very
What
interesting.
Link thought about the quest and the characters giving it.
Did not know about that. I think that would
Yeah,
definitely give the quest more personality than they have right now
yeah.
because they
They
do kind of
didn't
fall
do it in
flat.
the translated version because Japanese is way shorter to write in, but we have way longer phrases. Sentences.
Yeah. Interesting little tidbit, I guess, about Breath of the Wild. See, new information. I bet you've never heard that about Breath of the Wild before.
Yeah.
I bet you, dear viewer and possible fan of the Zelda franchise, uh, did not know that fun fact. We should make one of those videos, which is like top 10 lists of Breath of the Wild facts.
Yeah.
Number 9, and then, yeah, just say that one
Yeah.
again. You only need one new fact, in order for the video to work.
Yeah, we can just take that one little fact and put it in a short. And
Yeah,
people are gonna think, wow, these guys are so clever.
that's what I think as well. Really, we're thinking with the money now. But yeah, Breath of the Wild's Breath of the Wild's world feels very real, compared to other open worlds at the time, which is what propelled the genre really. I mean, you see like a lot of open world games pop up after Breath of the Wild, just because that game really like showed the world what can you do with this genre, and that kind of exploded. And somehow indirectly led to Mario Odyssey, I think.
I think they were worked on at around the same time, so I'm not sure about that.
I mean, Breath of the
But
Wild was
yeah, I
supposed to be
mean,
a Wii U game at first, so it was definitely developed way earlier.
yeah, yeah. It was also bigger game, so
Yeah.
yeah. Like I think it's very most likely that like something around Nintendo's gears kind of shifted, and they said, yeah, this thing about like open world, this is our thing, all right?
Yeah.
Um,
And then everyone
which
copied
it's not
them.
really something new. Yeah, it's not
'Cause-
really. Yeah, it's not really something new, but everyone copied them because Breath of the Wild did well.
yeah. Which is interesting, I guess, how a single game can change the industry that much.
Mm,
I think that's very
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
But yeah,
It's how it's always been.
yeah. But yeah, why is the open world so good? First of all, you get to see everything. Breath of the Wild uses a system where you can basically see the entire world from any point, and the models that are further away just get swapped out with models that are more low poly. So you
Mhm.
don't notice because they only take up very little pixels on your screen. Which is
Yeah.
how they were able to. Most games like that, you've ever played Minecraft Infinite World, there's very low render distance. You can't see that far. It doesn't look
Yeah.
that expansive. But as soon as you like
Mhm.
push the render distance up so you can see a lot, the world suddenly feels giant. It feels more
Yeah.
real as well. Because that's how far you can see in real life. Anyone ever looked out of a window? Anyone have windows in their home in this economy?
Do you not live in a cave?
Yeah, that is how the world looks. Um, which definitely makes the environments feel more real, especially as you like boider across the biomes where the grass color slowly changes and stuff like that. Um,
And it also happens to be a great way of not letting your Switch overheat and explode because it has to render so many different high poly elements.
yeah,
This is also a system that existed. This existed ever since the Nintendo 3 you know. The
yeah,
Nintendo 64, you have Mario 64, where if Mario was like slightly too far away from the camera, you will see how this very nice face suddenly turned into a square with textures.
he's a very chiseled man. Mario is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Just don't look too closely at him. That would be bad.
Mm. This also works in the most of the Mario Kart games. In Mario Kart, your cart has like very detailed wheels, but all of the cars of all the opponents have just like basically squares as wheels, and it doesn't matter because when they're moving, you don't really realize it. You just need to see your own cart.
Yeah,
So you don't. It doesn't really matter, and it's also like a way for like the system to just not have to load many different wheels that are rotating. They're just basically squares.
but yeah, it's a very common technique in video games. I'd say modern game engines basically do it themselves.
Yeah.
There is very much that goes on behind the scenes there in technical advancements. Breath of the Wild being on the Switch, anyways, is like a technical marvel. I mean, it runs on the fucking Wii U somehow, which I don't even
Yeah.
want to know how they did that fucking black magic. I don't know, but
I mean, Nintendo is known for having the ability to put really big experiences on really tiny software.
yeah,
It's honestly amazing. I have no idea how they do it. Like I think that no company knows how they do it.
yeah, they
They're
have
just
black magic going on somewhere.
yeah. No, I think Yamamoto sold his soul to someone. I don't know who, but he sold his soul,
You know,
and now he can do this.
he sold a soul to Bowser, the Bowser like from Mario.
Yeah,
He's real.
and now Bowser is a real guy.
I know he's out there somewhere.
Yeah,
He is. Bowser is real, okay? He's not a fictional character.
Bowser is
He's
real.
It's based on a
No,
real story. No,
he's,
if anyone who tells me otherwise, that's not
he's the
true.
president of Nintendo now.
Yeah, I was gonna say that he like assumed human form, and now he's like a demagogue who's running
Yeah.
Nintendo and making alarm clocks or whatever. That was his evil plan all along, selling alarm
Yeah.
clocks. I don't question it too much. But yeah, Breath of the Wild
So
obviously.
playing of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild obviously starts you on like a smaller tutorial area, uh,
Mhm.
which is the Great Plateau, which very good looking area by the way. I think that's what they put a lot of the graphics into to make that look great.
Mhm.
Very
Yeah.
focused as well. The tutorial, like it basically shows you everything very quickly while still giving you like the experience of an open world. Even the tutorial is
Yeah.
open world. It's just a mini version of the whole game. They just shrunk it down into a tiny
Yeah.
plateau instead of like a giant Hyrule.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which is really good. Like most games would have taken a different approach. Most games would have either decided to like make the entire game more closed up with explicit borders, or make the entire game open world, right?
Yeah.
And Nintendo decided, no, fuck you, and made basically the tutorial with a very explicit borders. You cannot leave a certain area. You have very specific objectives. It's very linear.
Yeah.
And then the tutorial ends, and the entire world is yours.
Yeah, great moment as a gamer. I remember playing this game for the first time. I was a little bit late to the party. I think I got it in 2019, which it released in 2017, so it's not that far off.
Yeah.
I was close enough, I will say. I was a Mario Odyssey guy first, I have to admit. But yeah, when I first
Good
played
game.
it was such a just a moment to like have everything opened up in a game like that. Especially after you get the hang glide, you obviously at the end of the tutorial, it's like almost an epiphany, you know, you can go everywhere that you saw in the background.
Mm.
Many games try to recreate it like that, but I think that's something that you can only do once. Once
I
I've
agree.
seen it once, I will never be as impressed by that ever again. Now I'm used to it. Was not at the time.
I agree.
Um,
Yeah.
that's interesting, I guess. How
What?
Breath of the Wild. It's not even like an inherent quality of Breath of the Wild. Other games do things like this, but it's just
Yeah.
because many people experienced it the first time there. That's why I think a lot of people say Breath of the Wild is genius, stuff like that. I think it might be because it was the first game to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they probably weren't the first game. There's probably like some game out there that does something similar, but
Yeah.
it was like the one that brought it to the mainstream.
It's like
right?
one of the most sold games of all time. I feel like it introduced the genre to a lot of people. I would
Yeah.
say.
It's a game that is amazingly in terms of graphics, and amazingly in terms of mechanics as well. I think we can talk about all the freedom that the Sheikah tablet provides the players. You have four, I believe, very specific abilities. Five if you count the camera, six if you count Amiibo, that do very specific things. Bombs things away. Magnesis lets you do whatever you want with things that are made of metal. Stasis lets you stop time for specific items and enemies.
Sammy, you're a liar.
And
Sammy, there's a seventh
what?
ability. Sammy, I
Is there?
can't believe you would be like this. You know the seventh ability. It's the Master Cycle Zero. How could you forget about this?
Oh my god! I didn't buy the DLC. You
The
bastard.
motorcycle. Isn't that the best ability in Breath of the Wild?
I can a fucking motorcycle. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess yeah. That's the seventh ability.
Awesome. Okay, let's
then there's
continue.
Cryon. Yeah. Then there's Cryonis, which basically allows you to go around the waters in a very slow way.
Honestly, probably the. Well, we'll talk about how interesting we find the abilities later. But yeah, it is one of
Yeah.
them. Definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like with these abilities, Link is able to conquer the seas, conquer the land, conquer the air, conquer everything. The entire world is at his disposal. And then there's also the extra abilities that he finds along the way, which are the blessings of the I don't remember what their names were.
Sages, I
Guardians?
think.
Sages,
Something
yeah.
like that. I think that might be Tears of the Kingdom. The names are Champions. I got it. It's
Champions, yes. You know, which they can be basically taken as Unobos is useless if you know how to use your shield.
It's not useless. It's kind of cool, I guess. It can do some stuff. Can protect you
cool,
360 degrees, can protect you from behind, which your normal shield can't. It's not. Also, it looks sick.
Sure.
Looks pretty sick.
It looks sick, yeah. I think that the most thing is that it looks sick. Then there's basically a fairy, but better. And there's Ravioli, who just lets you fly really high, which is probably the best ability.
Everyone loves that one.
Yeah, I completed many puzzles in ways that I was not supposed to using that ability.
Yeah.
And then there's the Urbosa's ability, which is just thunder, which is really cool.
It looks good.
I don't think I've used it that much, but it's very cool.
Yeah.
The game, there's also a lot of combat systems, you know, ways to quickly attack enemies after doing a perfect dodge.
Yeah,
or
the
a
combat
perfect
system
parry.
is simple, at least at first glance. Then it becomes very complicated while you're in the mid game. You think, wow, there's all of these moves, there's these like flurries I can do, these parries. And then once you're done with the game, you realize how simple it really is again. It's kind of like it's like the bell curve, you know? Like we so back, it's so jovial. You've seen the meme. That's what the
Yeah.
That's what the Breath of the Wild combat system feels like. It works well for the runtime of the game, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it really
Honestly,
just...
the combat system of Breath of the Wild is something. When I finish the game, I will just go back just to fight stallions. That's how they're called in Spanish. I don't know how they're called in English.
You mean the big Huis-esque Minotaur guys, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um,
They're called something. We should have done our research before
Yeah.
this podcast.
we should have.
They're
Oh,
evil big guys. I'm gonna check right now. Give me a second. We have to see him smite in this podcast. Lionels. Got it. I played the game in German.
Lionel. Yeah.
Okay, we have excuses. We're not English. We're not from the US of A. Again.
Yeah. You bastard.
Yeah. I bet at least 50% of you are from the USA. And now we don't hate you, but you're not the same.
Yeah. You really messed up politically speaking. Anyways.
We can't talk about that. Okay. Let's continue.
Okay.
Yeah, the combat system is very simple. I'm gonna use ostensibly again, ostensibly very simple, but then it has more complexity. But then after you've played the game once, you realize it's really just hit the enemy and then like do the back roll and then flurry rush the enemy. That's the most effective thing you can do in the game.
Yeah.
And also like shoot bomb
But-
arrows, I guess. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Love
Like, I
those.
mean, the different abilities that the enemies have mean that you have to do different types of dodges in order to get the flurry.
Yeah.
So I think that's very cool.
I
you
mean,
know?
there is the directional dodges. Yeah. I always felt like Link
Yeah.
should have had the Dark Souls style dodge roll. Feels kind of missing
How?
whenever I play Breath of the Wild. Because the controls are kind of similar to Dark Souls a little bit. But there's no
Yeah.
dodge roll. I feel like if Link had a dodge roll, that game would be better.
I mean, he has to dodge roll in most games. I do agree that it's kind of weird that it's missing.
Well, some sort of dash, you can do. Something like that. That's what the dodge roll really rolls down to, a dash with invincibility. Link
Yeah.
has it in the other Zelda games, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. No, he does. In most Zelda games, he just has like a dodge roll
Yeah.
where but he doesn't have other ways to evade enemies. So I guess
Yeah.
it makes sense that he won't have it here because he has so many other abilities.
Yeah, still, interesting omission, I guess. I feel like they could have kept it, but they didn't, so... We have to
Yeah.
live with this now.
It's so sad.
3 weapon types in Breath of the Wild. I always thought there could be more, but I feel like that's like hampering on a system that works fine in practice. There's 3 different movesets: short swords, long swords, I guess, and spears. Those are the 3 melee weapon types.
You're wrong.
You're gonna say there's a 4th one.
There's wands.
There's wands, but those have the same moveset as swords.
No, they shoot fucking fire, ice, and thunder.
Yeah, but
magic.
that's not like a new moveset. Those are like added effects, There's different types of... There's like the short ones, which act like swords, and the big ones, which act like the long swords. But they're basically part of the same weapon class. But they do have extra added effects. There's also the boomerang. I mean, you could count that as a new weapon type.
Oh yeah, there's a boomerang. True.
Karok Leaf as well. But yeah, they're all basically... Well, there's 3 different melee weapon types. You can like argue a little bit about the specifics, but...
Yeah.
3 different weapon types. My favorite is the long swords. They don't have as much utility as the short swords, because you can't hold a shield with them. You can't block at all. Like the shield mechanic doesn't exist, but they have a really cool charge attack. Everyone loves that spin.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
My favorite definitely is the short sword. I
Okay.
mean, I just love them. Like, and just being able to quickly attack the enemy and then run away. It's I love it. I feel
It's
like
mostly
a
blocking.
little menace.
I say it's mostly blocking. I feel like if you want to quickly hit enemies and run away, you're gonna use the spear.
Yeah, but I don't like the spear because I don't have a shield.
Okay.
I want to be able to quickly attack and also defend, run up.
Yeah, I never used the shield anyways. I always felt like the shields were... I mean, they look cool at least. There's some really cool shields
Yeah.
in Breath of the Wild. There's some nice designs as well. Just never really thought they were that useful. They all do the same thing anyways. Except shield surfing, but I never got into that.
I really don't quite know what the point of having like shields with a lot of defense means. Like, I mean, all the shields kind of seem to defend the same amount of damage in my opinion.
Yeah.
The
They're
only thing
all...
that really matters in shields is the durability.
Yeah. And I think the guiding value that they have also affects the durability loss. So it kind of shows you their durability a little bit, but it's not as important as swords. Tears of the Kingdom really, we're gonna talk more about it later, but it really improved on the way the swords work because it makes a lot of sword types unique and give them unique properties. Like the Korok droids,
Mhm.
for example, where they can like use
Yeah.
single-use fuse materials multiple times, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and they have like custom traits, but Breath of the Wild didn't really have those. There was just not that much variety in weapons, sadly. Uh,
Yeah.
it's still a
And
giant step forward, at least for Zelda.
yeah, and there's a very big critique about Breath of the Wild that you will basically just be asked to gain weapons, break these weapons in order to gain more weapons, which can be better or worse.
Yeah.
You know, and yes, you will be kind of like you would just not want to fight anything, you know.
I don't think it really weaks this critique because I think fighting enemies is like intrinsically fun. Like the moment-to-moment gameplay of
I
fighting
agree.
enemies is
I
great.
agree. I
And you can
agree
also
that
get
fighting
other
enemies is
materials.
fun, but it's not fun to lose your weapon.
Yeah, depends on the open world. I'm like kind of a Breath of the Wild guy on this side. I feel like it is made for a certain audience. Some people do not like their weapons breaking. I really do because it definitely does force me to go out and fight more often. Because I usually get more weapons back than you spend. Some of them might be
Right.
worse, but you do get more durability on average when you engage in big fights in like those camps as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's combat to be had at every moment, basically, in those games. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. They all, you could always be fighting. There's always enemies. I would say.
I I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
I think that the story of Breath of the Wild is interesting.
Uh, yeah.
Nothing that they've really shown in other Zelda games before, you know.
It's kind of like
Um,
the Dark Souls style storytelling of like more like lore, like you're piecing together a story, other than it just being told to you outright, like you're part of the story. In Breath of the Wild, you're
you
only
could
part.
say that it's the Dark Souls of Zelda.
You could not say that. We said this about Hollow Knight. This is blasphemy. We can't call everything the Dark Souls, but it
You
really did
are the
prioritize
Dark
a lot of
Souls of
tropes.
breaking my mind and emotions and making me sad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, Sami, I did not believe this.
Yes.
This is blasphemy. Satan
Yeah,
did
I'm
this.
such a blasphemous guy.
I do have to say. But yeah, I do think the story is interesting because you're not really part of most of the story. You're only part of the end of the story. The rest is like before your time in
Right.
Breath of the Wild, at least.
Yeah.
What do you say about the story, as a writer? I'm not as experienced in that department. I'm mostly like a gameplay guy.
Well, I mean, the story, more than a story, is it because you already know what happens, you know?
Yeah.
You are already revealed the ins and outs pretty much at the beginning. Like, you see this world that has ended, you hear about the cataclysm, like, you already know what happened.
Yes.
What the actual memories of Zelda, what the memories of Link tell you, is about what type of character Zelda was. It also tells you a little bit about the champions, not that much, at least not without the DLC.
Yeah.
But it's mainly about knowing about Zelda and a little bit of the world that it once existed and will never exist again.
Link as
Um,
well. At least
yeah,
a little bit. He doesn't talk, but I think he has a very interesting characterization in those cutscenes, even with his like
yeah,
lack of speech, so to say.
I agree. I
Breath
agree.
Breath Dot first Zelda game to be voice acted.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Um, I think that the whole way, like, I think that the fact that you're able to see Zelda as a human being
Yeah.
and as a person, you know, which interests, which love science, and like actual genuine care for the world that she lives in is a very important part for Breath of the Wild because it's infectious. You know, it makes you care for this world as well, and it makes you want to do something for it. Save Zelda. It makes you want to know what happened to her and how everything ended up the way it did. You know, it's a very interesting story.
It really does connect you to the world as well because you see like all of these battles that happen. And you see like the world you're going in right now before like the apocalypse almost. Uh,
Yeah,
which gives the game like almost a like tragic feel at some point, especially when you're walking through Hyrule Field. Like there was cities, there were civilizations before this,
yeah.
which
And Nintendo
are
made
gone.
sure that we're able to understand the nostalgic sadness
Yeah,
of everywhere we go in, even if we don't see the memory. Because we can see, for example, London Ranch, you know?
gone,
Uh,
reduced to
yeah,
ashes.
absolutely. You know, like we're able to see parts and pieces of previous Zelda games that we're not told they are from previous Zelda games. We just know because we remember and we see them broken.
Yeah,
Uh, and that way we're able to understand, feel what Link feels seeing his own world, something that feels similar but also so different, and just wrong.
Yeah. There's I think that helps with this. Things that help with this is the music selection in the game, which people talk a lot about Breath of the Wild's music, like the dynamic nature, how it's very understated, but everyone loves the soundtrack. Breath of the Wild soundtrack widely
Yeah,
reviewed as a video game soundtrack. But I don't really want to talk about all those things. I think just like the quality of the music itself, the feeling that the music evokes, really helps with like this post-apocalyptic world that is
yeah,
very there's no one there anymore. It's very sparsely populated. Just like the music is very sparse in the world, so you can really like cherish those moments where the music is there. And
I
then it
agree.
goes ham and fights,
Yeah,
which is fitting, I say,
yeah,
especially with Guardians. Very interesting music there.
yeah.
Very
It
fitting.
feels technological, and it feels like it feels raw. Like
Yeah,
an enemy, an encounter, something that is not supposed to exist in this world.
yeah. I really think the Guardians are one of the greatest enemies of Breath of the Wild. Uh, Sad that Tears of the Kingdom removed every single reference to them. They're just
Yeah,
fucking gone.
every character, so many characters that are supposed to know Link don't know Link anymore. The Guardians and Chica technology don't exist anymore, and no one mentions anything about
They
that.
retconned
It's
everything.
like,
How did they even do
yeah,
that? I don't even know. I genuinely don't know what the thought process was for the writers of Tears of the Kingdom. We're gonna say some positive things about Tears of the Kingdom, but this is like my biggest critique of the game. That the writing is just so all over the place. There's some good story beats there. Everyone loves the moment at the end where Link has to catch Zelda. The thing where Zelda turns into a dragon for 1 trillion years and shit. Cool moments, but I think the writing itself is all over the place. The pacing is not great, which is also partly because it's an open world game. But even if you play it like
yeah,
pretty linearly, uh, the dungeons tell the same story every time, and then you get like the
yeah,
Mineru's construct, and it's kind of not
yeah.
doesn't tell you that
And
much.
it's so weird because it's not the first Zelda game where you're able to like fight different bosses in different orders and
Yeah,
receive different parts of the story. Like you were able to like at the like for okay in the Wind Waker, you in the last two dungeons of the game before the last dungeon, you're able to choose between getting the Korok dungeon or getting the Orni dungeon.
yeah,
Like the weird bird guy.
yeah.
And depending on which one do you do first, then your companion is gonna tell you a different thing. Like it's gonna tell you just like you did in the previous dungeon, you have to do this.
Yeah, simple
And
as
they will
that.
give you a different dialogue. They
Yeah,
could have done the same thing in Tears of the Kingdom. They didn't
they
have to
have the
repeat you the
budget.
entire story.
They made
They
so
have the
much
budget.
money. They're so rich. They have the budget. They could have done this. They did,
Yeah,
they could definitely pay the voice actors and animators for enough a few days of work. I think.
yeah, but
Um,
they didn't.
they just
We have to live with that.
yeah. Dungeons Tears of the Kingdom genuinely also kind of disappointing. Breath of the Wild Dungeons largely thought to be kind of shit.
Yeah,
They try to do the same thing that they do with the shrines, which is like small contained puzzles all over the world, but then they just try to make it into like a big thing without adjusting the formula at all. So it's basically just like 5 shrines on a big bird in the sky.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
the little terminals look like little shrines, and then the bosses are.
yeah.
I like the Breath of the Wild bosses. People don't like them. I am a big fan of the way they play as well. The blights,
I I will say that the blights are interesting. I'm not sure if I like them. I
they
think
look
that
really cool.
I feel like they are too dependent on people. You know,
Yeah,
like Zelda bosses have to like walk a fine line between going alongside gimmicks and also allowing you to fight like with in more interesting ways, right?
yeah.
Uh, in this case, I think they went too far on the gimmick part.
Yeah,
It's the Thunder Kite, for example. It's just
big
taking
gimmick.
pillars. Yeah, it's taking pillars and attacking it with its own thunder,
It's very
and
slow
that's
as well. Magnesis isn't a very
yeah,
fast run. It's kind of anticlimactic, I guess. I do really like
yeah,
them though, just because I never really felt Zelda bosses were all of these great challenges. There's a few different things a boss can be in a video game, which is like either a big cinematic moment, a very flashy conclusion of a set of mechanics, or like a skill test. Those are the three different things that bosses
right.
can be in video games, I think. And in this case, I think Breath of the Wild takes the like big spectacle and conclusion of mechanics approach, where they look really cool. They're like a conclusion of the like temple's mechanics, and they also use like the abilities of the champions, which adds some world building at least. Also, they
Right.
look cool. I said it earlier, but I mean, they're big tech cyborg guys with giant
Yeah.
glowing blue weapons.
Yeah.
Now I
I
think
think
like
that the reason why people don't like it is because you see previous Zelda games and you see stuff like King Dodongo, Goma, and you
yeah
see like the typical big bad baddies that always exist in the Zelda franchise, but in different forms and with different attacks. And
yeah
then you sometimes see like new things that weren't there before, like Argorok, which is just a fucking dragon in Twilight Princess, right?
yeah.
Uh, you don't see that in this game. Even the mini bosses are like new, and they're not that cool. I mean, I think the golems look fun and they have interesting mechanics.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, a couple of rocks piled up together is not the most interesting.
I think it
design.
is. I think those are one of the best mini bosses, especially Tears of the Kingdom when they get whole bokoblin camps on them, which is freaking sick.
Yeah,
But
that is very cool.
they're really
But
also
I don't
really
know.
cool in Breath of the Wild, the way they get off. I think the mini bosses in Breath of the Wild are done beautifully.
I also think that the mini bosses are cool, but I
The
don't think
bosses
they're
are
as good as bosses of other games.
yeah, I don't think they substitute the bosses, but I do still think the bosses of Breath of the Wild are okay. Then Tears of the Kingdom, they try to undo all of that, with like more cinematic bosses that aren't just the blights again. They have like
Yeah.
different mechanics, like the Mud Torok, which the Mud Torok is a very good example of how they kind of failed. They're just not difficult. They
Mm.
made the bosses all too easy. I think
Yeah.
that's the problem.
No, I don't think that all the bosses are easy.
Queen
Like,
Gipdao is challenging.
yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, I think that Give the Queen is not only the most challenging one, it's
Yeah.
also the most fun one. Like, it's
Yeah.
just such a cool design as well.
Her mechanics are
Like,
good.
people are just so used to like different versions of Give existing around the franchise, and they all kind of work the same way. There's not like a big different way, and there's not a big different Give that exists.
Yeah.
The
But-
most I think the most different Gibdos everywhere was in Twilight Princess, where instead of like doing the thing of like catching you and like giving you a big hug, they just attack you with a sword.
Yeah, which is
You know?
also funny. That's an interesting situation. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think they kind of dropped the bag. They kind of fumbled the bag with the Tears of the Kingdom dungeons and bosses because I don't think anyone likes them. If you look at like the opinion generally, at least online, people not a big fan of what Tears of the Kingdom tried to fix about Breath of the Wild with its dungeons.
Right. Yeah.
Which brings us, I think,
I like it.
yeah, which brings us a little bit about more talking about Tears of the Kingdom. The only thing we have left to talk about are the final bosses, but we can talk about those last, I believe. Those
Yeah.
are some interesting things.
We can talk about them together.
Yeah. But yeah, Tears of the Kingdom does a lot of the same things that Breath of the Wild does, just with less success, I think.
Yeah.
They do the shrines, but instead of them having like a really good lore reason, they're just there.
Mm.
I don't really like that at all. The writing, as I said, is all over the place. Especially how the only piece of Sheikah technology left is the Pora pad for some reason. I don't know why you get that,
Yeah.
and you get it in such a weird way as well.
I don't get why they call it Pura Pad neither. Like it's like this. They like found this like really ancient technology of the Sheikah.
Yeah.
And instead of like leaving it as like Sheikah, Pura's like, oh, that's mine now.
Well, I mean, she did invent it, I think, canonically in Tears of the Kingdom, but you don't get it from her, so you get it from some construct.
Yeah.
Constructs are cool though. They're nice. They're no guardians, and we really never really get an enemy as cool as the guardian, except the Shadow Hands. I think those were supposed to be the guardian replacement, but they're really cool to fight the first time at least.
Yeah, I think that the Shadow Hands are probably some of the coolest bosses that ever existed in, like mini bosses in Zelda's history.
And then they turn into Phantom Ganon, which is cool.
Yeah, which to be fair is not saying a lot, given that they're competing against mostly small like mini bosses existing in Twilight Princess, where we see stuff like a big armor guy called the Dark Knight, or or like a monkey.
I'm so glad they phased the Dark Nuts out, because why did they call them that? Dark Nuts? I don't. Do they have?
Yeah.
Are they ball sacks black? Probably, but did I need to know that? Not really.
I don't think so. No, I don't think we need it. And they're not always black in every Zelda game. Sometimes they're different colors as well. So like, why are you called Black Knight?
Well, Darknuts, but you know,
Yeah,
not a big enjoyer of those. Yeah, let's continue with the
yeah.
discussion of that.
Yeah, but yeah, like the Phantom hands are like really cool, and I think they're really like good foreshadowing of what's to come.
Yeah.
Uh,
When you find them
like
at the bottom of the
you
Korok tree, the Deku tree, you know.
yeah,
It's a nice
yeah, and then
moment.
you see them like really close to like the end of the game. It's really cool.
Never really came close to Guardians for me though. I don't know. They're
Yeah,
not the same. They do have a cool,
I mean,
unique soundtrack as well, but I don't. They never really scared me as much as the Guardians. I just like threw a bunch of
yeah.
arrows at them every time and won.
I, I think it has to do with the fact that they don't appear as much as Guardians do,
They don't one shot
and
you. They don't one shot you.
yeah,
I think that's the thing. Guardians can one shot you, but not
yeah,
always. But they can one shot you. Those guys can't one shot you. They can do like big attacks, but they never like
yeah.
are as scary as a giant Guardian laser that like you have to parry perfectly to reflect. Otherwise, have
I
good
do,
luck.
I, I do think that in game design terms, though, they do better the job of the Guardians because the Guardians were there basically like to show you like to teach you about like how Guardian technology works, which then you need to use against the Blights, against
Yeah,
the final boss, all of that, right?
yeah,
Um, the shadow the shadow like hands teach you about how to defeat Ganon specifically.
yeah,
You have to encounter them because of story plots, and you're most likely to encounter them outside of story. You will most likely run at first. Eventually, you will learn how to beat them. You will learn their patterns, and then eventually, wow, this is how Ganondorf actually attacks.
yeah.
He
I mean, I
attacks
do
like
think
that.
they are. I do agree
Yeah,
that they are good in a gameplay perspective. I just don't think they have the same spectacle as the Guardians do. Which is
yeah,
sad because at the point where I was playing Tears of the Kingdom, I was already kind of buoyed of the basic combat system, so I wanted some cool things to offset that. Which,
right.
what's the coolest enemy in Tears of the Kingdom? The trees, right? The living trees that randomly jump at you.
Yeah, yeah. I
Those
mean,
were nice.
I mean, they do change a little bit how the game works. Again, at the first time you find them, it's like, what the fuck, right?
It's so funny. Yeah, they're so
Yeah,
good. I love them.
yeah. Like the first time you find them, it's so like that tree is fucking can't bug me.
It's great, to be honest.
Yeah. But once you realize that you can just one shot them with an axe, it becomes less interesting. I think.
Yeah, one thing I believe about Tears of the Kingdom is that it just plays like a Breath of the Wild DLC. There's no new
Yeah,
map. It doesn't really feel like a sequel. It just feels like Breath of the Wild, but instead of Guardian technology, it's like an alternate universe where there was Zonai instead.
yeah. I
I,
mean, like I think that uh, I think that the Tears of the Kingdom is extremely interesting in the two maps that were added on top of the actual normal map,
yeah.
especially the underground.
Well, the underground is just the above ground, but inverted. Like that's the same terrain. I don't like.
Yes,
I don't
yes,
like it.
but everything like in there, every damage that you are dealt means more because now suddenly you can like lose health permanently until you get yourself out into the light.
Yeah.
uh, and everything becomes so much more complex to travel because you'll find walls that you cannot traverse. You simply can't. Like it's probably the most linear part of the game because you cannot go everywhere. You know,
Yeah.
uh, I think it's amazing, and I think that it's the most interesting part because the bosses are very interesting there. The enemies are stronger. It's pretty much like telling you this is the hard part of the game,
Yeah. I do
and
love the
you don't need
underground,
to traverse it.
but I really thought it
Mhm.
was gonna be something different, like a unique map, but it's not. It's just their top map again, which makes me sad. And there's not even like unique biome. It looks the same everywhere. I don't know why they did that. Like they could have made unique biomes, right? At least I believe so. Would have been nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like
They
they
have big
were
evil
kind of
frogs
doing the
though.
most.
They have big evil frogs that swallow you whole.
Yeah,
That's pretty
I
cool.
think that the big evil frog is really fun.
Yeah, Sky Islands are kind of a disappointment. There's not a lot of them.
Yeah,
My honest opinion. Gonna be a little bit critical on Tears of the Kingdom there. I
yeah.
really enjoyed it, but there's so little Sky Islands. It's just like mini islands. They're not even connected most of the time. I don't really
Yeah.
get the Sky
Like
Islands.
you get like you understand that they're supposed to be like remnants of a previous civilization on top of like the pieces of your own land, right?
Yeah.
But also, no, it's not. Where are
Yeah.
the houses? Where are the bridges? Where are the things that are supposed to connect to each other? They're just
Yeah.
like pieces of land. That's all they are.
Yeah, I don't enjoy them that much. I feel like those were the things that were advertised the most about Tears of the Kingdom, which kind of were disappointing in them because a lot of the new content is on the overworld. Let's be honest. A lot of
Yeah,
the new quests, a lot of the new stuff. The overworld is still very
yeah,
new, but it does just feel like another Breath of the Wild hide mode. You know, Breath of the Wild, they had the hide mode DLC that almost
yeah,
overhauled the whole base game map, where they added new enemies everywhere, new outposts, and like remixed it a little. But that's what this feels like,
yeah.
which is kind of
Uh,
sad.
yeah. I think that, and it becomes especially heartbreaking. I can talk.
Yeah,
When you read that Nintendo originally had way more islands made,
yeah,
but then they saw all of their development and they said, no, I think that's too much.
yeah.
They thought they had made too many
Because
islands,
the
and
sky
so they
was
cut
looking
a lot of.
cluttered, according to them. That's the reason, which I think is a
Yeah,
really bad reason to stop making sky islands.
yeah,
I have
yeah.
to
Like
admit.
they deleted a lot of them because the map was looking full, almost like, I don't know, an actual map of a video game.
Yeah, I
Wow,
can't believe it. No way.
how cool they?
Tears of the Kingdom looks great though. It does look better than Breath of the Wild, you know, which they had a lot of
Yeah,
years to do that. Good water physics as well. You know those times where you
yeah,
like jump into the water with like the I think that's like the big Tears of the Kingdom mode. The big Breath of the Wild moment looking out onto the like world. The big Tears of the Kingdom moment is jumping from the sky island down with like the dive into the water. Beautiful.
yeah.
Uh, I do have to
I wonder
say.
if there's I wonder if there's a way to die with.
Uh, I don't know.
It would be really funny,
Yeah,
like an unsuspecting player just like kind of touching the stick, in a really bad position without realizing, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's so cool! Oh my god, look at all the clouds," and then just die.
fucking hell. One thing though about Tears of the Kingdom, why did they rename Malice to Gloom? Because
I don't
Gloom is
know.
much more dangerous than Malice, you know? It takes away your internal life force forever. And Malice just kind of does a little bit of damage to you. But Gloom is like.
Yeah,
Gloom sounds like almost childlike compared to Malice. Malice is like the essence of evil, you know? Gloom is just.
yeah.
Ooh, it's kind of dark.
I'm feeling gloomy.
I'm feeling gloomy right now, guys. I've gotten all of my life force
Guys,
drained.
yeah, guys. I don't think I can keep going in this adventure. I feel kind of gloomy right now.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. Like I think that like the reason why they did it is because it's technically different.
Yeah,
Like Malice was like Ganon's doing. That big bad specter of like evilness,
yeah.
flying over the sky. Meanwhile, Gloom is the creation of Ganondorf.
Which
You
is just
know,
very different.
yeah,
Demon
which
King.
are very, yeah. Like one of them is the evil beast form of Ganondorf, which is unrelated in this game. It's just kind of part of his magic, but not his being. Meanwhile, Ganondorf is like a
Yeah.
different guy.
All
I like to call him Dorothy
all of
because I think that's good.
yeah, all of these things that we talked about with Tears of the Kingdom, about why it's so weird as a sequel. This is all explained by one quote from the developers that they said in an interview, which is that the physics system took up all of their time.
Yeah,
Tears of the Kingdom has a fucking insane physics system, which brings us to the runes, which we talked about Breath of the Wild's runes earlier. Tears of the Kingdom's runes are like if you put them on crack.
yeah. One of my friends once asked me, "Hey, dude, I know that like Tears of the Kingdom came out, and I played Breath of the Wild, as you know,
Yeah,
and do you think Tears of the Kingdom is worth it?
yeah,
And do you think it's better or worse than Breath of the Wild?" And I told him, Tears of the Kingdom makes Breath of the Wild seem like a technical demo.
yeah, in a way.
That's how I sold it.
I mean, that is a very
And
good way to sell the game.
yeah, I was still very much hyped for like because I just played Tears of the Kingdom. I was really
Yeah,
happy. But even now that I have a bit of more of a critical eye on it,
yeah.
I still think that is a good way of representing it. It does make Breath of the Wild look like a technical demo, but that does not mean it's a better game.
Yeah, but it really does explain why everything about the game feels so not enough. It feels like they didn't do much for a sequel. They were kind of lazy. It's because the fucking physics system took them the entire development time. Why did they ever implement Ultra Hand? I do not know. It is the bane of their existence. They will never be able to
Yeah,
change course on it. Would I rather have a better game in every other aspect, or would I rather have Ultra Hand?
yeah.
Um,
Like I really feel like they just added Ultra Hand, because they thought it would be really cool concept.
yeah,
And then they realized, then probably like a lowly, sad employee kind of like stopped the entire room, and then like the guy said, "Hey, but guys, that means that the players can move everything."
yeah, and then
And
they,
yeah, and Miyamoto was like, "Yeah, yeah, that's the point." And then the guy was like, "No, but like that means they can move
and
everything."
then they made Banjo Kazooie nuts and bolts. Basically.
Yeah,
Insane how insane how Tears of the Kingdom succeeded when that game failed.
yeah, yeah. Basically.
Yeah,
Turns
I
out that
don't know.
Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts was right all along. They had the right mindset. They just didn't
Yeah,
have the technology. Um,
yeah. They could have kept it at the Master Cycle. I think. Uh, personally.
just you know how I don't know if you know this, but
Yeah,
in the Wii,
yeah,
they made the Legend of Zelda Link's bow training. I think
yeah, yeah,
after they made Twilight Princess, I think.
yeah. I'm
And
aware.
they could have just made the same thing, just a Link motorcycle training.
Yeah, I agree. Link gets a fucking bike. It becomes cool, I guess.
Yeah,
Um, that'd be a great game. But yeah,
we will.
I do think that's where
Oh well.
the source of the issues of Tears of the Kingdom stem from. It's just they needed to develop this insane physics engine that's basically can withstand anything. Everyone, the video game like market, every developer was like, "What the fuck? How did they do this?" And the answer is they did not do this easily.
Yeah, like
It's
okay,
yeah,
imagine now having to do what basically all almost no one has done.
yeah,
Being able to make a physics system that feels realistic. This sounds easy, it's not, because suddenly you have to take in account that things that we take as given, like, I don't know, laws of physics, you
yeah,
have to put them in code that makes sense and is logical in a computer.
yeah,
Uh, and now think that you have to do that in the objectively speaking worst system of the market.
yeah. It's an undertaking. I don't know why they did it like that. Um, it's definitely impressive. I am impressed.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely.
Wow, Nintendo. I was like, wow. And then I never really used the system, so I have to be honest. There's like not that many parts where Ultra Hand's actually that useful.
Yeah.
I just traverse on holy sand with my hang glider. That's enough for me.
I mean, I like to use my Ultra Hand every now and then,
Yeah.
like to get into interesting spaces. But to be honest, like sometimes it can feel like a hassle.
Yeah.
Like you can feel like, oh, I have to like dismount from my horse and use Ultra Hand now to make like a flying machine.
Yeah.
you know?
But I do have to say, um, it's those abilities are better. All of the ones like they have the glue ability. I
Mm-hmm.
believe it is called Fuse. Which not
Yeah.
as much to say about that. Just make the weapon system much more interesting with the loot. I don't think we should have like a long discussion about
Yeah.
that. Like Ultra.
I
They
mean,
made.
I think that we will, if you would allow me.
Okay, I
Uh,
will indulge you, Sammy.
I think that just as you said, it does fix the entire system, but what it fixes specifically is quite interesting.
Yeah,
Um, mm, the Tears of the Kingdom changed nothing in terms of the reward system of fighting.
yeah,
Absolutely nothing. What they changed was that now you suddenly can upgrade your item.
yeah,
Now, instead of when you beat an enemy, instead of gaining out their weapon, you gain their horns, their pieces of their body. You are maiming people on a Nintendo game. It's great.
No way! I can't
Um,
believe this.
yeah. Um, which means that the weapons that you already have now do more damage and are more resistant. Suddenly, everything makes sense. It's way more rewarding to fight Lionels if you know that the Lionel is gonna give you their horn, which is gonna make your weapon last way longer and do way damage. It's way more rewarding to beat an entire group of enemies when before you saw them and were like, oh, this is gonna take so much time and it's gonna take so much durability for my weapon. Now
Yeah.
instead of that, you see that and say, so many fucking horns, I'm so horny.
I like okay. I like how you said Lionel as well. Like you were talking to a guy, Lionel, my best friend. You kill him and take his horns.
Yeah,
You were addressing him like your bestie.
he's my bestie. I love to take his.
Yeah, but yeah, I do like Fuse as an ability. I feel like that one was also much more manageable scale wise. That one just works. Ascend was invented as a dev tool, developer tool to teleport upwards out of the new caves they were making,
Yeah,
and it's just
and then they
convenient.
said, that's fun.
Yeah, it's just a convenience tool. It's not really used anywhere in the game the way you'd have to, except like a few situations in the tutorial
Yeah,
and one dungeon. But
and yeah, and mostly in the underworld. In the
yeah,
underworld, there's like specific sections in which you're supposed to ascend,
yeah,
and you get to very specific locations, which
yeah.
are very hard to get in normal ways.
Ascend is fine. It's like the Cryonis of this game, somewhat. Very situational,
Yeah.
but interesting. And then you
Mhm.
have Recall, which is just a puzzle mechanic, basically. You use it to do a bunch of puzzles. It's not, like, inherently
Mm.
useful. You can, I guess, rewind enemies a little bit and projectiles. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. But, yeah, it's a puzzle ability. But the main thing is obviously Ultra Hand. That's the ability of Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Don't you think Fuse could have been also merged with Ultra Hand? Why did they make a fuse ability? They could have just put that in Ultra Hand, right, where you fuse an item with your weapon.
Yeah. I tried that in the tutorial.
Yeah.
Because they gave me an ultra hand, and I saw the trailers. I knew that you were able to fuse out weapons, but they don't really show you how to fuse them.
Yeah.
So I just like took all my weapons down and decided to fuse them together, into stick. And then when it was time to take the item, I just like separated the entire fusion. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh well, that's fucked up.
Very strange how they separated those
Yeah.
two abilities. I guess they wanted the same amount as Breath of the Wild. They wanted 4 main abilities, so
Yeah.
that's
And I
why.
mean, having fuses its own different ability does make the game more interesting.
Yeah. Not entirely wrong.
No, I mean, not interesting, but more efficient. Like
That's
if you have to,
well, you
if you
still
have,
have to
if you have
drop the items out of your inventory and stuff just doing it through a menu prompt,
only
to be
one
honest.
though, only
Yeah.
one.
Still, it's I don't like the inefficiencies in the UI, but I think that's a discussion that we don't have time in this podcast because we're already at an hour.
Guys, if you want longer podcasts, tell us and we'll start a Patreon.
Yeah, we'll make like 3-hour podcasts for you guys. Maybe you're on
Yeah.
like a train.
Yeah, we can make a Patreon and we'll put 1 hour of the podcast for free on YouTube and the other 2 hours on Patreon.
And every 2 hours
Great.
is just us talking normally. We're not even having like a script
Yeah.
or anything. We're just
Yeah,
going off.
you'll just hear us being like, well, I think that was a very good recording.
Nice chicken
That was
nuggets I'm
fun.
eating right now, Sami.
Yeah, already. What are they made of? And that's gonna be the entire book.
Definitely.
Um.
Anyways, yeah. Final thing. Final bosses. Why is Tears of the
Yeah.
King's final boss so much better? Breath of the Wild's final boss works fine. Except the second part, that like giant boy Ganon is no one likes him. I think it's just a shitty mechanic. Why do they bring horse riding back for the final boss last moment? No idea. They're not even like building upon any mechanics, to be honest. But the first phase is fine. The first phase brings all the like different bosses you fought into like a big evil battle of doom.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me, or do you have like a different experience fighting?
I agree with you. I think that what makes them better is the fact that the final battle in Breath of the Wild is mostly just another blight. It's basically another blight.
It's an animal,
but it's
basically.
harder.
Ganon doesn't
Yeah,
talk
it's
to you.
Yeah, it's an animal that has the mechanics of a blight.
Yeah.
And you fight him like you will fight any other blight
Yeah.
with the mechanics of the other blights as well. It's nothing new. And then you go into Hyrule Field and you beat a big fucking boar by shooting him with arrows.
It's so
So
easy as well. There's nothing engaging about the final
Yeah.
boss.
You just get your horse in, so it's easier, so it's faster,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's cinematical, I guess. And then in Tears of the Kingdom, is way better. You know, you fight an actual human.
Yeah, you saw
You
him in the
attack him.
cutscenes as well. He gets a lot of characterization, and he's also
Yeah,
really hot. But we will not be talking
yeah.
about the sexual appeal of Ganondorf, Demon King, in
I
this
mean,
podcast.
he is very hot. I want him on my bed. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think that what makes his battle better, you know,
Yeah.
and I will say what is the best, probably the best moment in the entire game.
I'm
You
gonna
do
predict
what the
that.
game.
I'm gonna predict that.
Yeah.
It's when his HP
Okay.
bar goes fucking ham and goes to the right side of the screen. That's my favorite moment.
I think that best moment of the game is when you do what the game has taught you to do. Go run at him and attack him.
Yeah.
You run at him, you attack him, he fucking dodges you and flurries you like you would flurry an enemy in the game.
And you're like, bitch. What?
Yeah, that's my thing, you asshole.
It's such a subversive boss mechanic, and he really does not use the mechanics of the other bosses. I think he's the one truly great boss of Tears of the Kingdom. He is insane.
Yeah.
He doesn't even just take your like max HP like Gloom does. He literally like destroys it. Your max HP like,
Yeah.
forever. Because obviously it doesn't let
Yeah.
you, because the game doesn't go on after that. But it's so powerful when he just literally takes the max HP out. You've spent 100 hours probably farming. There's
Yeah.
a lot of effort in those Ganondorf. Why did you do this to me? I don't know.
Yeah, what the fuck, man? And then you beat him, you know, and he
Yeah.
decides to do the thing that if you saw the cutscenes of the game, you will understand that it's very very interesting and
Yeah.
very important lore heavy moment. If you ignore the cutscenes, then you're gonna be like, oh, funny rock.
Yeah.
He eats a funny rock and he becomes a dragon. Which if you don't know about the lore of it, you're just gonna be like, cool, I guess.
If you
Sure.
know about the lore, it's beautiful. It's a great moment. Here's the Kingdom story. I set the writings all over the place, but the thing they did with
Yeah.
those cutscenes at the final boss, that's a beautiful moment. Great storytelling. 10
Yeah.
out of 10.
Yeah, and then Zelda as a dragon.
Yeah.
Spoilers, by the way. Goes to get you. Goes at your aid and helps you beat the evil bad dragon Ganondorf. And you beat him again with arrows. No, you don't. You actually fall down into the dragon, and you attack him with your own fist by
Yeah.
punching big eyeballs.
Yeah,
And
with a
it's
big
very
blue
cool.
sword, which you've probably fused, like, I don't know, big dragon's fire horn off lightsaber onto. You know those Glyokos you
Yeah.
can get that make your sword into a lightsaber? One of those.
Yeah. Yeah, or like, or maybe like just Zelda's dragon thing of light, which is
Yeah.
strong against darkness, you know?
Yeah. It's a great moment. I think it's, like, the same, like, concept as Breath of the Wild. Big fight in the sky above Hyrule, just, like, out in the world, in the open world. But instead of doing a thing that, like, no one was interested in, no one wanted to see a big boy Ganon who can't move, they do a thing that the whole story was building up towards, where he, like, loses his mind, and it's, like, the last Hail Mary, where
Yeah.
it's, like, giant
Yeah.
dragons fighting each other. It's great.
Can we talk about this though? Can we talk about how in Breath of the Wild, you know, Zelda tells you, "Oh, Ganon will never come back again after this. You know, this has been the last time he will ever reincarnate."
Yeah.
And then in Tears of the Kingdom, you just find Ganondorf, and he's like, "Hi guys."
I tell you, he's he's been retconned, okay, for the first
Yeah.
time.
He's
Best
just there.
moment
He's just
in-
like, "Hi guys."
One of the best moments in Tears of the Kingdom is the start with the like backwards music where you're discovering the old temple.
Yeah.
It's so fucking cool. When the trailer, like 3 years before the game even dropped, there was the trailer for it. I wish more of the game was like that. That would be
Yeah.
such a good game.
Well,
It was so
the game
mysterious.
was not the game was not finished, man. I mean, like,
Yeah.
if you see the trailer of the game and you see like what Zelda and Link are seeing, like all of the little runes and all
Yeah.
of the crystals, you know, like it looks beautiful. It looks like an actual place you can explore with Zelda.
Yeah, it looks like
and
that was
the
what the
actual-
game was going to be about. I really thought it was going to be underground exploration, like a giant catacomb system, but no,
Yeah,
never happened.
but even that same section that you see in the trailer is completely different as to what you see in the actual game.
There's like an animal
so
there, like a big
weird.
buffalo. He never appears.
Yeah.
They retconned
he
him
doesn't
as well.
He does appear.
He does,
does
and like
appear,
it's a
alright.
weird ranch in the jungle. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not the
But
same,
not
I
in
would
this.
say. He doesn't even live
it's-
underground.
Yeah.
He's not plot relevant at all. Which is
No, yeah.
Uh,
You know, it's clear that they couldn't finish the game. It's kind of sad.
yeah, I wish I would have played that version of Tears of the Kingdom. You know,
Yeah.
it's fun.
The version where the sky map was actually a map and not just a couple points of interest.
Yeah, genuinely, that backwards music thing they do in Tears of the Kingdom insanely good. I love that. I wish more games did stuff like that. It's just so good. Those like backwards choirs. It sounds great. It's a very unique musical landscape.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's been everything I can discuss about Tears of the Kingdom, and
Yeah.
while
I mean,
keeping the time limited.
I could discuss much more, like about the
Yeah,
story of the champions, the relativity of death, and how it teaches you how to accept how similar the landscapes of the war in Breath of the Wild are so very similar to the landscapes of
yeah,
actual real life war we see in like our world. Like what war does to the land.
yeah.
There's a lot of things we
We
can
could
talk
talk
about.
about the shitty like champion abilities of Tears of the Kingdom as well. The like weird terminal
Yeah,
rooms, the weird shrine differences where they're more open than the concise parts of Breath of the Wild. But I don't think we have time for all of that, so we're
yeah.
gonna have to.
If you want, if you want a second podcast talking again about Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, you can tell us because I think we could not.
Yeah, we'll make a comeback one time in like 50 episodes or whatever. We'll do part two. Um,
Yeah,
but this was more the mechanical breakdown. We talked a lot about the feel of the game and the game feel. Great
yeah, it was
discussion.
amazing.
What's my takeaway? Never make a physics system like that. Please do not waste 20 years of my life with that. I am going to go
Unless,
insane.
unless you're one of those guys who wants to like make a game where you're able to like see the pores in the face of a character. If you want to like spend that amount of time doing something useless, you
Yeah.
might as well spend that time making a good physics system.
Yeah, what's your
You know?
takeaway? What's your takeaway,
Yeah.
Sami? As a writer.
I think that the story of a video game is extremely important if you want to make a story in a game that is going to like be remembered by the people.
Yeah.
So if you have the chance to make a game that has a beautiful landscape with amazing possibility for countless wonderful stories and mythological appearances, don't waste that time making funny physics system, please.
I was
People
gonna
are not
say,
gonna use it.
my writing takeaway is never, if you make a sequel to a game, probably don't retcon the entirety of the first game. That's probably a bad idea for your sequel.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Comment if you would like to fuck Ganon.
yeah, comment if you find the sexy manly body awesome, just like me.
Yeah,
I did not want him to be the evil in the story.
yeah. I would like to play as the big buff sexy guy.
Yeah, I mean you get to in that one game, Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah, true.
He's really cool there as well. But yeah, I think it's been a
Alright.
great EGTAEG. Yeah, Sami.
Before we finish, one hypothetical.
Yeah.
If you could enjoy the rest of your life, with the big buff Ganondorf from Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
But for that, you first had to spend one entire year with the dehydrated version of it. Will you accept it?
I take the infinite games, but no bacon personally. So
That is a good response, I suppose. The only one that actually matters.
bye guys.
Bye, guys.
Have a nice EGTAEG. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Whatever. Something like.